A customer called the other day and was wondering whether I had ever mounted a DryFire unit upside down on the ceiling, and I said, yes, I have. In fact, the one I use in my shop consistently is upside down on the ceiling. And they wanted to know, of course, how did I do that? So I said the biggest obstacle I had in the beginning was to find a USB cable that was long enough so that I could go from my computer across underneath the carpet on the floor, up through a pipe into the ceiling, through the ceiling, and then back down to the DryFire unit. And if you know anything about USB cables, they are sensitive as to how long they are. And what I found was that when I Googled USB extension with signal booster, I found there are many companies out there who make these 16-foot extension cables which have a built-in signal booster and claim that you can connect up to 5 of these in series and run a USB device that's up to 80 feet away from where you're trying to drive it from. Well, I put 2 of those up and have that's the connection between my computer and my DryFire unit upside down on the ceiling, and that solved that problem. Of course, then you also have the problem of how do you get the AC to DC adapter plugged in up on the ceiling, and I solved that problem, and I'll leave that one up to you. There will be many ways for you to mount your DryFire unit on the ceiling upside down, but sometimes it helps if you can see at least one example. So here is how I have mounted mine in my shop. I took a piece of material here that's about 1 foot in each direction, and basically this is mounted onto here, being held into place with a screw. I also put 4 mounting holes here so that when I put this upside down on the ceiling, I can simply go through these 4 holes and attach it to my ceiling. Now let me just turn it up this direction so that you can see. Underneath here we have the 1 main screw. I'll go ahead and take that out of there. Now you want to make sure that this screw is not too long, otherwise you run the risk of going up inside of the DryFire unit and damaging the electronics. So let's take a little bit of a look at that. You can see here that my screw is about long enough to go through this board, and then it goes into the bottom of the DryFire unit about 1/2 inch. So I would be careful about that. Don't make it go into the DryFire unit any more than 1/2 inch. And that's quite simply how I've done it. So 1 bolt in the middle, holding it onto a board with a hole in each corner so I can mount it to the ceiling. Now the final thing is, okay, what do I have to do with the DryFire software to make all of this come together? And that part is quite simple. All you have to do is come up to Setup, come down to System Configuration, and then in the System dialog box that opens, come down in the lower left and click on Advanced. And then in the secondary dialog box that opened, come here and click on Mount Simulator Upside Down. Having checkmarked that, I can hit OK. And now I only have 2 other things that I need to do. And that is to put in the new dimension as far as how far the simulator is from the wall. And that's a measurement from the wall to the center of the bubble level. And the second thing, now that it's upside down on the ceiling, what is the new dimension from the floor to the surface of the bubble level? And in my setup, I'll make those changes. Mine is 48 inches away from the wall, and it is 92.5 inches above the floor. Now, one final thing, the maximum height above the floor is 108 inches. That's 9 feet. And that's from the floor to the surface of the bubble level when you have it mounted on the ceiling. And I think that gives you a pretty complete idea of what you're going to have to do to get it upside down on the ceiling. And like I say, I love it up there. Hope that's helped.